Osiris Bay. You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. Yes, hello Penguinauts, I'm the Baby Penguin and welcome back to Fall of Kerbin. Our tanks have finally pushed far enough into Kerthenia that we have encountered one of the cesspits that they seem to call cities. So yes, today we shall be invading Osiris Bay. Finally, some urban combat to go with the new World War II era. So, we've got pretty much the same sort of lineup that we had in our testing video. You see, Tape, I did not expect him to bomb Valley's Guard. I thought, you know, with the amount of anti-aircraft defenses we have, Tape isn't gonna attempt it. Well, attempt it he did, and he blew up every single armoured vehicle we had, apart from this light tank. So all we have to launch at this city is this light tank, and then the 3 Cobra medium tanks that we've launched this turn. So we're actually outnumbered. However, we are up against 1 light tank, 2 World War I tanks, and 2 tank destroyers. So the playing field is roughly even. However, the enemy does have the advantage of us not knowing where they are. So we enter into an extremely dangerous and deadly game of hide and seek, going street to street and looking down every little alleyway, every little corner to see if there could be a cowardly Kerthenian hiding, ready to pounce and ambush us. So we're just leaving the Cobras behind, just sort of advancing forward, using the Mamba as basically what it's designed to do, be a scout tank, and just sort of edge forward and just have a look around. Oh, and yep, that's a tank, back up, back up, back up. Whoa, it fires a 3-inch shot straight across our front, but thankfully it misses us. So we can bring up the Cobras, the true, you know, firepower of this column of tanks, and hopefully we can take this out. So this is only a World War I tank, but it does have a very deadly 3-inch flak gun. We get hit by that too many times and we're not really going to be seeing tomorrow. It's got a pretty fast rate of fire as well, so we just basically need to be relatively careful, but it shouldn't be able to do too much damage to us. So we put down some opening fire, pretty much, well, both of the opening shots miss. Opening shot from the second tank also misses. It hits us first, but it's only a high explosive shell, so it doesn't actually do much damage to us. It just sort of explodes when it hits our armor and doesn't get through. Unfortunately, we're firing armor piercing, which doesn't explode, it punches holes, but for some reason, this thing just won't die. We keep putting shot after shot after shot into this thing, but for whatever reason, it just will not die. And I think the reason it's taking so many hits is just because we're hitting the 3-inch gun, and that thing can take a hell of a beating, and the 3-inch gun itself is protecting the command module. So we keep putting shot after shot into this thing, and it was just not doing any damage. We've barely got any room to maneuver to get our frontal armor facing, so we're at a bit of a strange angle, which isn't really helping, considering it's a high explosive shell. I really should have tried to maneuver a little more and get the front of the tank aiming towards it. We bring in the light tank to try and get a bit more fire onto the target, but then our first Cobra gets taken out by a high explosive shell from a World War I tank. That's just crazy. That's actually pretty embarrassing. And at this point, okay, I've had enough. You know, we've lost a Cobra, a World War II medium tank, to a World War I heavy tank. This cannot stand. So what we do is we sort of pull back the light tank, and I said, okay, that's it. That's absolutely it. I'm going to advance. I'm going to bum rush this thing. Look at it. It's still intact. Look how many shots it's taken. This is getting ridiculous. So it opens up with its 30 cal machine gun, just sort of raining down some fire onto us, and it's still not dying. We're putting 20mm shells into it, 76mm armor piercing shells, and it just will not die. So you know what? We're going to bum rush it. We're going to run straight towards it and put shots into it at point blank range. Although we do need to be careful because of course there are going to be other tanks lurking around this area. So we keep putting shots into it, shot after shot after shot. It just won't die for whatever reason. There we go. It fires another shot at us, put even more fire into this thing, and finally it goes up and it dies. Oh, what a nightmare it was to take out that tank. I have no idea why it took as many hits as it did, but I don't know. But anyway, all we lost was a Cobra, and we had the second one lightly damaged. So I guess it isn't the end of the world. We can still take the city with 2 mediums and a single light tank. So we're just advancing up this road very carefully because we know roughly where the enemy are now. So we know they're going to be in this area. They're going to be hiding down alleyways, you know, ready to take a shot at us the moment we show ourselves. So we're sort of doing a leapfrog sort of motion here, moving forward the Cobra, then moving forward our light tank, Just checking every angle, every single little alleyway, every street, checking to see if there is a tank lying in wait. Because, of course, there are tank destroyers in this city as well, and those have very, very deadly guns. But, oh, is that a tank? Yes, it is. There we go. So I see the tank and I immediately back up because I don't know which way it's facing. I don't know if there are other tanks in the area. But my Cobra's cleared pretty much all the area up to this point, so this looks like it's the only tank here, and it's actually facing the opposite direction. I don't know which direction Tape seemed to think I would be invading from, but this tank is facing completely the wrong way. So we just outflank it, put a few 20mm shots into its rear, and yeah, take it out immediately. But I believe it's called a bit of surprise butt sex for that World War I tank. So yeah, that tank doesn't even get a chance to fire a single shot at us with its 37mm flat gun, so that goes down without a hitch. So we continue advancing. There we go, there's our light tank there, and we're just advancing with the Cobra. Just checking every angle. As you can never be too careful in these things. These tanks can be very, very sneaky. These Kerthenians are sneaky little buggers. And oh, yeah, there's a light tank. Okay, so we immediately back up. Now we know where one is, we can try and do some slightly more advanced tactics to sneak up on it. So I think I'm being sneaky here with my light tank. I squeeze it through this alleyway, and I get right up, right at basically point blank range. Because I think, okay, if we can jump out and get some 20mm into it before it can get 20mm into us, we can annihilate it. But they're waiting for us, and oh dear God, then yeah, that didn't go well at all. Yep, there goes our light tank, just immediately. So, okay, enough of this. It's time to take it out with the medium tank. Unfortunately, our first shot misses. It puts a few shots into, and it gets a lucky shot in between our armor panels, and it blows us sky high. Blows the turret straight off the tank. That was really unlucky. These tanks can usually take a much more severe beating than that. However, we were at a strange angle. We didn't have our frontal armor pointing straight towards it, so we weren't bouncing shots like this tank is so good at doing. There's just so little room to maneuver in this city that these big medium tanks, they really can't play to their strength, which is their strong frontal armor, their strong sloped frontal armor, and it's just not working. But we do manage to get a shot on the light tank, but it doesn't kill it. It's still firing, puts shots into us. Come on! Ah, damn it! And it takes us out. And there were two more tank destroyers around the corner as well. We failed to take Osiris Bay. It was just not knowing where the tanks were and just how unmaneuverable our medium tanks were in that city that led to our defeat. Next time we'll almost certainly only invade with light tanks. Use sheer numbers to overwhelm our enemy. But we won't let this get us down. There are other things to be doing. Our offensive has been stalled, but we'll launch some more tanks next turn and we'll try again. Now, our northern fleet has blocked off Tape's fleet from exiting Osiris Fortress, which means he's got 3 heavy cruisers just sitting in port, begging to be bombed. So we've loaded up 3 of our Vulture attackers with 1,600-pound armor-piercing bombs. These are the real ship killers, and we're going to go fly out and bomb them. Now, in order to get a hit with these things, you need to dive bomb, and thing about ships is they have a lot of anti-aircraft armament, so dive bombing is exceptionally risky. Basically, you need to get right above the target, drop down, and then drop the bomb while diving towards the enemy in order to guarantee a hit. And in order to take out a ship, you need to get a direct hit with these bombs. The thing is, I didn't really want to risk that. This is the first time we've been attacking ships with these aircraft, so I just wanted to play things safe. And basically, if worse comes to worse, I thought, okay, we can just try again next turn. We don't have to destroy these ships this turn because there's no way they can really pose much threat to us at the moment. So here we go, we're flying in with our 2 wingmen, and we've got our armor-piercing bombs at the ready. We're just going to do some horizontal bombing because I don't really want to risk doing a dive bomb against these ships when really we haven't tested how good we are at dodging anti-aircraft fire. And these ships have a lot of guns, as we're about to see in a second, once they train their guns on us and they begin to open fire. So here we go, lining up our first bomb, and yep, the anti-aircraft fire is soon to open up. There we go, starting our dive very, very early. This was the main problem. This is why we missed. We started our dive far too early. We should have waited till we were above the ships and then dove down towards them to drop our bombs. There we go, drop the first bomb, and there we go. The anti-aircraft fire is starting to open up, and it's time to make ourselves scarce. For some reason, the AI pilots on my wingmen don't really want to bomb. As soon as they see the anti-aircraft fire, they immediately disengage and start evading. They don't want to brave that fire any more than I do. That bomb basically misses by a country mile, doesn't do any damage. I do actually click the attack position button and try and get them to attack that way, but no, they're not having any of it. They're trying to avoid the anti-aircraft fire. They do not want to die. Kruolan pilots, they have a good sense of self-preservation, you know, you got to give them that. But anyway, I think, you know what, screw this, we're going to taking direct control, and we're going to do it ourselves. There we go. So we're just pulling this plane around, and we're going to see if we can drop one of these bombs straight through the deck of the USS Mayfair. This is actually only a World War I heavy cruiser that's had a refit, but it's actually at the best angle for us to drop a bomb at it. It's pointing straight towards us, so it's got the largest sort of room for error. But as you see, there is a lot of anti-aircraft fire pouring towards us. Oh dear, yep, disengage. Okay, yeah, that bomb, again, it doesn't hit. It misses again by a country mile. We actually have some of Tape's aircraft, 2 attackers. I believe they're P-11 Valkyries heading straight for us. So we kind of need to hurry up with this bombing before those actually manage to catch up with us, because those are twin boom, twin engine aircraft. They are very, very fast. So we need to get this done as fast as possible. So since 2 bombs on the USS Mayfair didn't really do anything, we're going to go from one of his World War II heavy cruisers, which actually pose a bigger threat anyway, and we should have really gone for them to start with. So here we go, final attacker going in for his World War II heavy cruiser. And again, I still didn't want to dive bomb. I just didn't want to risk it, basically. That's it. I just wanted to stay well out of the range of those anti-aircraft guns, because at this range, at this speed, there's not really any chance that they can actually hit us or get down any accurate fire. But if I did dive bomb, basically you're a sitting duck for anti-aircraft guns. Although you do pretty much guarantee a hit, it is very, very risky. And as I said, it's not imperative that we destroy these this turn. We're just testing our air-to-ship combat capabilities. That bomb does actually get very, very close. As you can see, it's heading pretty well on course. We're pretty much out of range of the anti-aircraft guns now. They put a few more parting shots into our aircraft, but then I tell them to follow me, and it's time to get out of here. As you can see, the bomb's dropping towards it. It's going in, it's going in. It's looking good. Unfortunately, it's just not quite good enough, and it just missed. Ugh, such a close miss. As you see, all it does is damage the engines. But Tape can repair that because, of course, it's in port. Just lightly or even heavily damaging these ships is not good enough. You have to get a direct hit and completely destroy them while they're sitting in harbour. Otherwise, they can just be repaired quite easily. However, Tape's aircraft are very, very fast to catch up. So even though we're out of range of the anti-aircraft guns, we are not out of range of them. And then our first KT-2 Vulture gets taken out. They are hot on our tails. Look at how fast these things are. We aren't going to be able to outrun them. We're going to have to turn around and fight. Thankfully, we have a few advantages. We have a 50 cal tail gun, which is exceptional at taking out chasing enemy aircraft, and also our aircraft, the Vulture, is much more maneuverable than the Valkyrie. The Valkyrie is designed for speed and speed only. It's an exceptional energy fighter, which means it's great when it's got more altitude than you, which means it can dive in, boom and zoom, fire at you and then disengage. However, these are at the same altitude as us, so we actually have the advantage in superior maneuverability. And obviously our tail gun means that we can fire at them while pulling ridiculous maneuvers, whereas they can only get their 20 mils onto us while they're actually pointing the aircraft directly at us. So we pull some pretty crazy maneuvers and start opening up with our 50 cal tail gun. I actually accidentally stole the plane here, but as you see, we get some pretty accurate fire down onto these aircraft despite pulling ridiculous maneuvers, and we actually take one down. So it's 1 down, 1 to go. Here we go. So here it is. It's coming in for an attack, and yep, I stole the plane. However, our tail gunner is nothing if not persistent. He keeps firing at that enemy aircraft. So I decided to actually just engage the AI pilot because I'm just completely lost this air. I'm really struggling to fly it at this kind of altitude and these kinds of speeds. We engage the pilot, and there we go. We've ripped off a wing, and both of them tumble straight towards the ground, and there we have it. We've destroyed 2 of Tape's attackers, Unfortunately, we didn't destroy any ships, but as I said, we didn't actually need to. It just would have been nice after our defeat at Osiris Bay to actually have some kind of military success, but unfortunately, it wasn't to be. But we did test our air-to-ship attack capabilities, and now we know from now on we really do need to dive bomb, despite the risks that does involve. But anyway, we do actually still have a Vulture left over from last turn, and there is a pesky World War I tank sitting on my southern forward operating base. Well, this cannot stand a moment longer now that we can do pretty much anything we want. Last time we were restricted by only really being able to bomb this base. We can fly straight over and dive bomb the hell out of it. We need to show these Kerthenians what we're made of. They can't just sit on our southern forward operating base as they please. No, it's time to take it out. Now, if Tape was half intelligent, no, Tape's a very intelligent guy, but you know, if he actually had any kind of military genius to his person, he would have used the supply unit that he has sitting on my forward operating base to build an emplacement to have a few more anti-aircraft defenses so that he could actually hold it. But as it stands, his Eddie Stobart is just sitting there being useless, and his World War I tank with a 37mm flak gun is sitting there completely out of friends. So we're going to go straight in and actually dive bomb. Yes, we're actually going to do some dive bombing this time. This has only got a single 37mm flak gun, so it's not really going to be particularly dangerous. So we can afford to fly straight over the top of it and then dive much later on. We still dive a little early, actually. I still need to get the hang of this whole dive bombing thing, but it is ridiculously accurate, as you're about to see. So we only have 250-pound bombs, so with a heavy tank you need to get a direct hit for these to actually do any damage. But as you see, we're dropping our bombs. I dropped the last one just at the last minute. We pull out of the dive, and the first one misses by a country mile, but the last three slam straight into it and scatter it across the landscape. As you can see, there's just no substitute for dive bombing, really, and that's really what we should have done on the ships earlier, but I just feared that in actually getting into position before the dive, we would have got blown out of the sky. But looking at how inaccurate the AA fire from those ships was, you know, Kerthenian gunners, they can't hit the inside of a barn. Yeah, it's actually, I think, feasible to dive bomb ships. So we're going to try that next turn if we have any attack aircraft left. I assume we will. So we'll certainly try that next turn and hopefully have a bit more success. We don't have any bombs left for this Eddie Stobart, but it's unarmored. So we just go in with our 50 cals and do a little strafing run. Sorry, dude, nothing personal, but you're part of the enemy war machine. It's time for you to die. Get off my land! Ah, there we go. Kerthenian scum eliminated. It's good to just mop up some Kerthenians after today's failures. I'm so annoyed that our offensive at Osiris Bay got stalled, but you know, what can you do? We'll just prepare a little better next time, and hopefully we'll fare better next turn. Anyway, speaking of next turn, our carrier group is finally assembled, ready to push towards Osiris Fortress. However, this was originally intended just to hold Tape's fleet inside the northern part of the Asia to stop them escaping. However, with our aircraft failing and with our push at Osiris Bay also failing, it looks increasingly likely that we're going to have to resolve this with a naval battle. So, instead of building my southern carrier group, we've delayed that until next turn, and we're reinforcing our northern carrier group with a Galapagos class heavy cruiser and another Adeli class light cruiser, entitled the KUS Kevin O'Gara and the KUS Zelahari, and I hope I pronounced those right. I almost certainly did not. But these will get to our carrier group next turn, and then we can push towards Osiris Fortress. We should outnumber and outgun Tape, granted, even if he does use all of his naval launches. So hopefully we should be able to take Osiris Fortress if we manage to push him into a decisive naval battle. Anyway, last but not least, we're putting down some more defences at Valley's Guard, because of course now we are very vulnerable to a counter-attack. Tape can only attack us with his light tank and his two tank destroyers, but I've underestimated him in the past, you know, when it comes to attacking us with forces that are less than adequate for the job, and he's succeeded, you know, the bombing run last turn being an indication of that. So I've used the two supply units that I actually had sitting at this base to build two 40mm emplacements. So now we have the maximum we are allowed, which is 5 emplacements, 3 20mm and 2 40mm. We also have 2 SM-20Ds with 3-inch flak guns, and we have our 1 surviving interceptor from last turn and the 2 attackers that survived our raid on Osiris Fortress earlier this turn. Hopefully these will be able to keep Tape's tanks and Tape's aircraft at bay. I'm pretty confident because he's only got 2 tank destroyers and a light tank. They're not great for offensive operations, especially on large open fields like this, and he doesn't have any mobile anti-aircraft guns, so our aircraft would pretty much just pick him off like fish in a barrel. And although we don't have particularly good units here at Valley's Guard, we do have an awful lot of them, and as the great man Stalin once said, quantity has a quality all of its own. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I do hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time, where hopefully we'll have a bit more success.